Hello, scamp pickers of the cosmos, and welcome to Prog Review. Well, actually, not Prog Review, because I bought several magazines here, including prog and some other type of music styles, including heavy metal and reggae. I'll start though with The Who. This is a magazine from Record Collector, and it details all the worldwide printings you can get of their records. It's quite a good magazine. I'll try and flick through it a bit. There you go, there's a few pages. Different pictures. There's articles about the magazine, not the magazine. There's articles about the LPs as well, the individual albums, mostly the Keith Moon era. What you've got here is write-ups about my generation, right through to the last 4 entries in the Who catalogue from the 80s and the 2000s. Fistful of Metal, I think this came out today. Black Sabbath on the front cover, talking about their album Volume 4. Lots of bands in here I don't really know. I'm not really that well up on metal. I tend to like the sort of classic artists such as Dio and Rainbow. Well, all the bands that Dio's been in, I suppose. But another magazine I've bought, which I'm very pleased with, because I've been collecting a lot of reggae CDs. I mean to get some vinyl at some point. But Bob Marley. Again, like the Who magazine, it details all his albums over the years. People were saying on a Facebook page before that it's interesting to read about his early albums with the Wailers, such as the very first album. He was doing early versions of One Love and let's see what else. The second album, Soul Rebels, he was doing... can't find any early songs on that were re-recorded later on. Soul Revolution Part 2. Duppy Conqueror, I'm sure that was done on a later album. Kaya. Finally, The Best of the Wailers. Let's see. No, he wasn't doing his early stuff on that. There were loads of singles. I don't think there's an article on the singles. There should be, though, really, because there was so much material on the singles that weren't done on albums. But finally, Prog magazine itself, with Ian Anderson, resplendent on the cover. This was probably the first Jethro Tull album I bought, Aqualung. I had bought the very best of, which was like a Chrysalis compilation from 2001, and that got me into the whole back catalogue. But I recall my friend Stuart McLachlan at school bringing in the LP of Aqualung, and we were all able to bring in LPs on the same day. I think it was the end of term, half term. I took a Damned LP, and another friend took in Michael Jackson's Thriller. Another friend brought in Genesis's then album Shapes, as they call it, with Mama on, or the Mama album. But Stuart McLachlan, he went to see Jethro Tull, and I was hoping to go and see them on the Under Wraps tour, but unfortunately, I think money got in the way. Actually, it's quite good on this prog magazine cover, because they've sort of indented the logo into the background of the Aqualung cover. It's a very good album, though. I know it's split into like 2 sides. Can't think whether it's Aqualung the first side and then the second side's called My God. it's a sort of a sequence of songs about, I suppose, finding God through being homeless. I don't know. It always evokes that in my head for some reason. But apart from that, I mean, there's an article here, interview with David. Is it Oberle from Griffin, the drummer? Who I went to see Griffin back in 2019 at the Unitarian Church in Ullet Road in Liverpool. At the time, they were promoting their Renovation album. And their latest album is called Get Out My Father's Car. I got into Griffin by reading about them in a book by Jerry Lucky called Progressive Rock. And I was intrigued enough to buy a couple of CDs. And these CDs were on the Transatlantic label and compiled 2 albums apiece. The first CD had Griffin itself, which is more like a folky sort of album. The latest article in Prog details the different albums, and they developed over a period of time. The second album was Midnight Mushrooms, where they were still doing on one side a lot of their folky type material, but the A side had a 17-minute track called Midnight Mushrooms, which was done for Peter. Let's see now, Peter Hall's production of The Tempest, I think put on by the Royal Shakespeare Company. And this was highlights of the music put on this LP. Then after that, they had probably their best album, their magnum opus, Red Queen to Griffin 3. Obviously, that was their third album, so they called it Griffin 3. And it's all about it's 4 tracks, about 10 minutes apiece, 2 on each side, all about the progression of a chess game, which I find very intriguing. Probably very pretentious in this day and age, but as prog has been revived in some form, then the punks can, you know what. And then the final album on the Transatlantic label was Rain Dance, or Rain Dancers. I know the Camel had an album called Rain Dancers, but it's Rain Dance. And it had a sort of cover on it. I'm not sure if Hypnosis did the cover, but it was a bit like Ummagumma by Pink Floyd, where the picture repeats itself, a man naked on the front cover with a record player holding the record, and then basically he's on the front cover of that record, and it goes on and on and on. This wasn't as good to me. I think some people think it was probably the all-round best album of the early era, but I don't know. I think Red Queen to Griffin 3, possibly the first album, are the best to hear first. But I do like Treason, which was on a different label. It's at the Harvest label in this current magazine, because I had it on the Bad Elephant, I think it was called Bad Elephant, or some Talking Elephant music, I think the CD reissue was on. And Treason was very good because it had Spring Song, which was all about, I think it was Anne Boleyn facing the execution. And it had a very quiet beginning, like and David Oberle doing the martial drumming that got slowly louder. It was very menacing, I suppose, in that respect. So that was their final album before they reformed about, 20 years later, 25 years, 30 years later. But one of my favourite ever groups. I do sort of like the medieval sort of sound, or the folky sound. I mean, I like bands like Verbal Convention as well, Pentangle, Sea Lice Span. But probably Jethro Tull and Griffin sit at the top of that table. Anyway, all go out and buy these magazines, whatever suits your taste. And I'll speak to you very soon. Bye-bye.